Welcome to Functional Fitness Uncensored.
That sounded like
Digital. It sounded totally digital.
it sounded
Yes.
it sounded like something. I can't put
Okay.
I can't put
Well,
my pulse
welcome.
on it, but you know what I can put on it? You know what I can
What?
put on it?
No,
I
Trev,
I
don't do it.
I
No
can I
one.
can put some of this on it. All right. Or
All right.
no
No,
wait.
no, no
No,
more. Let's.
one more. Da, da, da.
No, that you're too late
Oh,
with that.
those weren't
Okay.
even live. The people didn't even hear it. Now I'll try it one more time. There we go.
Oh my god.
All right. Let's
Sorry,
rock and
guys.
roll.
Okay, so we had brought up the idea of talking about awareness to what you're doing, and we have a couple different things we're going to bring up about awareness. And I think we're talking awareness in the food realm, the realm of what you eat or what you're putting in
Well,
your
I mean, this
mouth.
could be anything, but yes, I think we keep it because we want to keep these relatively short. We keep it to the world of eating.
Okay.
Um,
All
so
right. So there are a handful of methods for food awareness. I'm going to go with the one that I'm currently doing.
let's talk through the different ones. And first, let's even I think even going back a step further is like, why should I even care about this kind of stuff? So what I've found, and I probably Ashley will agree with me, is that a lot of people will improve their nutrition, potentially even lose some weight if the only thing they do is just start tracking all of the food that they're eating, whether it's with a piece of paper, whether it's with photos, whether it's a macro tracker, none of it really matters. And it's actually fascinating that many people don't even need to go any deeper than that. Like sometimes just tracking for 14 days, 21 days, 28 days, and being diligent with it, like actually being honest with yourself, no good or bad. Hey, if you had a bite of a Snickers bar and you only had one bite, then you gave the rest to the dog, like you still write down one bite of Snickers bars, right? And then after you track it, then we review it every once in a while to just like see what's going on, because you're going to notice there's so much of this creep that happens in our lives. Oh, I had a little nibble here. I have finished my kids' food, or, I had 4 or 5 drinks on a Saturday night, or this or that. But the second you need to write it down, it becomes real and your behavior will change to match what you're trying to do. It's fascinating. So, one thing that we do, and I think Ashley does this with any new clients as well, is like the first thing we do with you is we have you just track, because how do you change anything that you don't even know what's going on, right? And so just starting by tracking everything, and it's like, well, yeah, I lost 2 pounds this week. Yeah, because you just
All
didn't
you did
want to
was
write down the
pay
stuff you
attention.
did. Right, you didn't want, you're like, I had to write it down, so I chose not to have those extra after dinner snacks or an
Yep.
extra drink or two, because I knew I have to write it down and report it to Ashley on Monday morning.
Yeah, so I'm going to even go a little bit further than that. When we are sitting in an assessment with a client, we all ask, what do you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like, what were your meals? And what's more mind blowing is, what did you, and maybe it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not going to ask them I'm going to ask them what they ate yesterday. Most people do not remember what they ate the day before.
That's
Like,
the hardest question. The hardest question I ask is what they had for dinner last night. Actually, no, not dinner. What they had for lunch yesterday. Lunch is a really hard one to remember. And then also the second one is, how old are you?
but so like here's the thing, like if your goal is weight loss, or even if it doesn't have just better aesthetics, you want to look better, you're training, you're working really hard, and you want to look better, and you aren't aware of what you ate for the meal previously, you probably at some point in the last 24 hours made choices that didn't contribute to your goals. Whereas if you are taking pictures or writing it down or even putting it in a macro tracker, you can be very aware of what you ate yesterday. And I promise you remember more things that you write down than what you don't. So if I wrote down what I ate yesterday, I am going to remember. I have been taking pictures of all my meals because I don't feel like weighing and measure them right now, but I'm like, let's see what I've been eating. How, like, I feel like I'm missing some like color in my meals and I wanted to be aware. Pictures are great to track color because I can literally look at my log and be like, I ate nothing purple in the last 2 weeks, or I ate nothing red. So like I have been doing more food photos so I can do it because I think it's fun to see like some dynamic, but also like, am I putting together well composition meals? Like, do I have protein on it? Do I have veggies? Do I have this? Which isn't always fun to see written down, but those are great tools to see. Like, are you getting a vegetable at every meal? When I do written food logs for clients, I have them write protein, like a P, a V, a C, and an F. Protein, veggie, fat, carb, all of those things. They can pose that at a meal. And I do have a veggie, which is also a carb on there. So they're like thinking about having a fruit or a vegetable at every meal. Because yes, those are carbs, but like most of the time, like they're not normally the problem.
Well, it depends on like the
but
carb.
It's more,
right.
But it's also more about the addition of having the fruit and vegetable. So like when we're looking at habits, it's more about adding the fruit or vegetable to the meal. Too. So I use that.
And let's be honest, we're not eating vegetables for calories. We're not. They're serving the purpose of vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients and flavonoids and all that fun stuff. But so here I wanted to kind of mention something. So this is one of the reasons why when we're looking at dietary research, right, or this new headline comes out or this or that, is like, how did we collect this information? Because if the collection of information was through dietary recall, right, how predictive can that be, right? Because there'll be some where they'll send out like a nutritional survey. How many servings of processed meat did you have in the last 7 days? 3.5. Like I have no idea.
Servings and like what's a serving?
Right. So in the point of it, we could go deep into that, but the point of it is like that collection method matters, right? It's good for potentially like if we're just trying to get overall trends and population data and that kind of stuff, like we at least have an idea, right? But it's like, it's an idea. This is not an exact science. And so that's why we just need to be careful on headlines and other things like, okay, cool. How did we get this data, right? Was it people locked in a ward for 30 days and every meal was controlled and the amount of exercise was like, how much control was there? Right. Because those studies are really hard and really expensive to do, especially at population levels. Like it's not possible at population levels. So just some food for thought when you're reading headlines and that kind of stuff is like, where did this data come from? Right. So back to our methods. So how you want to be aware of what you're doing is really up to you. But being aware of it isn't just like, like thinking about it. It's actually like writing it down because there's something special about writing it down, taking a picture, entering it into an app that forces you to make it concrete. Just like Ashley said, like when she writes stuff down, she remembers it better. Like this is just a age-old memory trick, right? If you're studying for an exam, writing down the answers to the questions that are going to be on the exam is going to help you remember the answers to the questions on the exam. There's something about writing and moving your hand and brain connection and memory. It just works. Do it. So if we look at like three of the most common, and correct me if I'm wrong if we miss any, but one would be like photos, like what you're doing, right? You're just snapping pictures of pictures of foods on your phone. Is that what you're doing? Are you entering them into FF Coach or how are you doing it?
Of course I'm putting them into FF Coach. Come on. Well, I'm also trying to do some work at the same time, like content creation stuff. Right. So I'm doing that too.
So it's and literally like you could take them, upload them at the end of the day. You could upload them like right as you take them. It's really up to you.
The other cool thing is when you take them on your phone, you can write notes on them.
And everyone has this with them all the time.
Not my dad. I found out he doesn't have it with him all the time.
Everyone has this with them except for Ashley's dad all of the time. So it's a nice place to be able, and I find, so if I have a client that is resistant to this, photos is the first one. It's like, let's do photos because photos is the easiest. Snap picture. Done. Right? So the next level up to that would be handwriting.
I will go handwriting / using your notes tab on your phone.
So we'll stay digital because again, and analog. Yeah.
Some of my clients, I mean, like, yes, there's a difference analog, but like some of my clients don't take pictures, but like maybe because they like ate half of it and they're like, well, I was already past that. So I just wrote it in my phone app.
Right.
So I will go notes on your phone or handwriting them as 2.
Okay. So either of those work. It depends on the type of person you are, right? Are you more of a notes or are you more of like, I have a notebook with me or I want to have a notebook that just sits on my counter and then I eat all my meals at home. So I just write it down. Cool. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Right. And then typically for us as a coach, we would just have you take pictures of things and then send it to us. Right.
Or if you're meeting in person, you bring your notebook with you. Right.
So that's number 2. Number 3 is where we get a little bit more interesting. because we get a little bit more data from it. Right now we start to look at composition. We don't have to do as much thinking, and that's like tracking with a macro tracker. Our favorite one is Macros First. It's a free app for you as a client. It's also like it's ad free as well, so it's a really cool user interface. Like I think it's very user friendly.
The food scanner is free. The other thing that I really like of using with clients is like if we're telling you to eat 30 grams of protein, you can actually type in 30 grams of protein. And it's going to tell you how much food you actually need to eat to get that. So like it's a smooth app. It's
so
really
what is
cool.
a macro tracker going to tell us that writing down wouldn't tell us?
Quantity. Quality.
What other variables for someone that doesn't know anything about nutrition? Right.
It's going to tell us protein, fat, carbs, calories, and fiber, and other micronutrients. But like those, protein is usually one of the biggest ones that I'm looking at as a coach, and fiber is going to be the other one that I'm probably paying a big attention to for a lot of my clients if they are macro tracking.
So for people that don't understand the term macro or like macronutrients, what does that mean? What is a macronutrient?
So they're going to be the things that your body needs to perform. I mean, live. Perform. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates or carbs are going to be the 3 macronutrients. There are only 3 macronutrients. There's no other one.
You may get an argument around alcohol. You might get an argument. So the other way you can look at macronutrients are their calorie containing elements or nutrients. Whatever we want to call it, right? So a protein has how many calories? 4 calories. Fat has how many? 9. And then carbs have how many? 4. So that's calories per gram. So if we have a gram of fat, it's worth 9 calories. We have a gram of protein, it's worth 4, and a gram of carbs is worth 4. Granted, they're not all kind of created equal to an extent, right? Protein typically isn't broken down to be utilized as energy. Protein is a building structure within our body. So pretty much our body is made up of proteins, right? It's our bones, our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments, our organs. It's structural. Or carbohydrates are more of a energy source. Think about carbs as a fuel because they're the fastest, easiest way for our body to get energy. And then fats are it's a denser energy source, but then fats are also important in lots of other pieces.
But they're also building all the other things. So all of your cells are actually made with fats. So it's not just the fat, like you're thinking about the fat that you store, which actually isn't the fat that you eat.
Correct.
They're different.
The fat that you store is actually an energy deposit, and that could come from carbs. It could come from fats. It could come from really anything. Proteins are a little bit harder to like.
But still, I mean, like it's still possible. It's hard work. Your body doesn't like to do it, but it still is possible.
It is possible, but I would find it very hard to overconsume protein and get and gain a lot of weight. It would be very hard. I don't know if you could eat enough protein because there's.
Oh, I don't.
Protein is. I mean, the reason we love protein so much is. I mean, there's a few things. One is all the structures in our body. We want to preserve muscle mass as we get older. We don't metabolize protein as well as we get older, those kind of things. So we want a lot of it. 2 is it's really expensive for our body to actually digest. We lose, I think it's like 30% of the total in the digestion process. Like we're using, let's use easy math. If I got 10 calories of protein, right, I consumed it. It's going to take 3 calories just to digest that protein in energy. And so it's kind of interesting that way as well. Yeah. And protein has a very satiating effect. So it's really hard to just eat tons of it, right? Just think about like a really lean steak or like chicken breast. Chicken breast is a great example, right? Chicken breast is really, really lean, but man, like you ate 1 chicken breast and you're like, I'm done, right? Because it's just, there's not a lot of flavor because a lot of flavor comes from fat. And it's just kind of like, it's hard to overconsume. You have to be intentional about it. Very, very intentional about it. If it's not combined with carbs, salt, sugar, fat, all these other things that make it
which
delectable.
Makes everything taste better.
Right. Cake.
This is why chicken strips are better than eating a chicken breast.
It tastes better.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
If you want to make anything taste better, you add salt, sugar, or fat to it. Like it's what makes things taste better. We're wired to do that.
And Frank's Red Hot.
It makes everything better. Honestly, I put that on everything. And that's like, I'm so glad that it's a slogan because I literally will put it on vegetables.
Well,
eggs.
I'm between that and sriracha right now. I am really into
sriracha is a nice one too.
Okay. But it also has sugar in it. So, okay. So we told you the methods, the 3 methods that you could log your food. Why would we go with one for someone versus another one? Like why, like which clients would you recommend to do what?
So it depends on the goal. And I think the hierarchy of these are photos first, easiest, but we're probably not going to get we're getting good data, I would say. So 2 is going to be written. Written is going to be good, probably not as good as photos, but it might be easier for someone to do. Overall, we're going to be terrible at figuring out amounts. Like you're going to be bad at it. Unless you're actually measuring and weighing and that kind of stuff, you're going to be bad. You're going to guess. You're going to get it completely wrong. That's just like the nature of our eyes, right? And unless you've done a lot of tracking in the past and you understand what things look like, but there's all these things like a deck of cards and blah, 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 blah. Like,
but so I will say that I have weighed and tracked. I did it for a very long time. And for a while after you do it, you're really good at your eyesight, but give yourself about 30, 60, 90 days. You become further and further and further away from how correct you were for the first couple weeks.
Yep.
If you like, so you can eye it. If you're doing it every day for like a couple months, you could probably eye 3 ounces of chicken. But if you haven't done it in 3 years, you're probably not going to eye 3 ounces correctly.
And the goal here is not to get it correct. Like that, of this exercise that we're going through, it's not about getting amounts correct. That is not the goal. We may have that as like a level 2, but the level
goal is
1
compliance to do the skill
is awareness.
Can you do the skill?
Yes.
Multiple days to be aware, because Correct. If you're not doing the skill every day, like, I mean, on a skill like this is what we're working on. I'm going to be looking for like, maybe not every meal that you're doing, but you're doing it every day. So I'd like to see like 90 plus compliance on this as a skill.
Yeah. If not 100%. Like this is literally, it's not even, it's a stretch to even call this a skill. It's doing the thing. It's click the button, right? It's remember. Your biggest hiccup is going to be remembering to do it. That's going to be your biggest hiccup. It's not that you can't or don't have the capacity to do it. It's just that you forget, right? But it's like, how dedicated are you to the process? That you're going to get a lot of like, all right, cool. Like, hey, I want to lose all this weight. I want to do this, that. Cool. Track your food for 21 days. Every day. Don't miss. You come back to me with 21 days of no misses. Let's talk.
This is like kind of one of those non-negotiable kind of things. Like if this is your goal and you really want to make this change, you need to do it, and you need to do it well. Otherwise we don't have the information to move on to the next step. We can't see where you're struggling. We can't see where you're having like what you're doing well. We can't see what you're not doing. Like this really tells you everything when you start taking awareness into a big piece. Like I am mindful of what I'm doing.
And I think it's a good check for yourself too. Like, it's like, hey, if I can, like, I want to lose weight. Cool. I'll say that in my head. I want to lose weight, or I want to accomplish X. Okay. Here's a micro thing that you can do for the next 21 days to check yourself to see, like, am I actually serious about this? Because if I won't even track my food for 21 days, 14 days, whatever you decide, you're probably not ready. And that's cool. Like, that's okay. I would rather have you come to that awareness early than just all this frustration of doing it for a bit and then not doing it and doing it and not doing it and doing it and not doing it. That's worse. I would rather have you fail at the 14 days and be like, hey, you know what? I don't want it bad enough. Cool. That's awesome. Like, focus on something else for a period of time. And then when you do want it bad enough, come back to it. Right. And maybe you make some other micro changes, right? But you're really not ready to go all in. And that's cool. So from a time frame standpoint, how oh, go ahead. Do you have more on that?
No. Yeah, no, you're fine. Go ahead. I think I was going where you might be going. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, with someone new, what would you say is the minimum amount of time that you would want them to track in order to get a good idea on, or just even create this level of awareness that they're going to need in order to make the next step in improving their nutrition?
The minimum is going to be 2 weeks.
Why?
Because I want 2 weeks worth of data, and I truthfully probably want at least 7 days, and the first 7 days are going to be hit or miss for most people. So I'm probably going to get 7 really good days. I don't love that to be like, this is your excuse to not do it. I really would like 14 days worth of content. That gives us 2 weekends. It gives me 2 Mondays. It gives me 2 this. So I cannot just see, honestly, longer is usually better. I can
Right.
see your patterns.
Yep.
I can see, hey, it looks like Tuesday's a rough night for you. What's going on Tuesdays? How can we make Tuesdays better? And maybe we're just working on making Tuesdays better because they're so rough for you. Or, hey, it seems like you go out to eat a lot on the weekends, and I can see that's a pattern. So, like, why are we going out to eat on the weekends? We can look at our food choices. Hey, it seems that this is your weekend restaurant. What do you like about it? Like, it's not just about the food, but it's also like the relationship of what I can learn about your lifestyle choices and how you like to live your life. Because some of making healthy changes means like, what am I as a coach going to find out where I need to push you to maybe make a lifestyle change, and what's going to be like a very hard boundary for you that's not going to change. So we need to find other places we can pick, because like, honestly, as a coach, the easiest way for you to get results, stop eating out. Okay. If I said that to a client who like, this is where when they spend time with their kids, or this is when them and their spouse do this thing and they have a couple cocktails and do that stuff, I'm probably not going to win that battle. And I've now put us in a rock and a hard place kind of coaching moment. I need to see where you're at with things, and I can see what's consistent in your patterns, like that kind of stuff. So I think that can be really valuable at building our coaching relationship as well, for me to actually help you get to where you want to be.
Right. And all of this that we've talked about today doesn't even require someone to move into a coaching relationship. They can simply just do this. Like, this is stuff you could take away from this call right now and start doing. Right. I think really where your coach comes in is being able to look at that and be like, here's what we need to work on next, type of thing. Right. But
truthfully, what I'm going to do, the first question I'm going to ask my client after they've given me food log is, what do you notice about it? I'm not even going to tell you what I think, because to be completely honest, what I think about your food log matters less than what you think about your food log.
Right.
Like, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about your choices? Where do you feel like you did really well? Where do you feel like you can improve? Because nothing's going to make me a worse coach than I'm like, you're really doing bad at that, and you thought that was one of the best things you did on your food log. I'm not doing my job. My job is to make sure I can see what you feel like you're doing well on and where you feel like you're struggling, and help you with those things. And as we progress and as we go, you might see like, oh, hey, I thought I was doing really well at this, but come to think, like, I probably need to eat more protein at my meals, or I'm not getting protein at breakfast, or, you know, crap, some of my clients, like, just eating breakfast is a win. Like, and that's great. So like, there's a lot of different things that you're looking at. We're just going to analyze it more analytically. You guys are going to have a lot of emotion in your own food log and how the choices that you make and why you do it.
Right.
Where I'm just going to be able to give you third party. Like, I've seen what works over decades of working with clients, and this is what does better.
Love it. I think it's great. So hopefully you got a little bit out of this, right? And like, hey, I want to do something. That's a good first step in doing it. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper, right, you know where to find us. So anything else? Any last little parting words?
No, I think maybe next week we just kind of do a little bit or deeper dig into macros.
Because right. If you do want to go that route, I think it is valuable, especially for periods of time, to just give you awareness. But there are right and wrong ways to do it, and better and worse ways to do it. So we'll unpack that next week. Cool.
All right. Later, guys.